we go. Okay, it's recording.
All right, well, welcome. All right.
And I'm still going to export this just so that nothing crashes while we're in it.
Yeah. Welcome, everyone. So I think we're live now. Is that right?
Yes, we are.
Woohoo! So today's webinar is called the Instagram Photo Plan. We have a ton of juicy information for you guys related to photography and your Instagram. So it's not just as simple as slapping up a picture of your dog or sharing a random selfie, although a random selfie can be good. It's about approaching it from a place of strategy and intention and overall brand design. So it's going to be jam-packed. It's going to be an hour-ish of content, and there will be a replay, so if you guys have to leave or anything, then we can go ahead and send that out to you after. And I'm sick, so I'm going to apologize beforehand. I'm trying to be super enthusiastic because I love talking about this stuff, but I have, I don't even know what it is, but my lymph nodes are swollen, and my throat hurts like crazy, and yeah, it's perfect timing, but that's how the universe works, right?
Keeping it real, right? That's what we do.
Yeah.
But at least you don't have to like a boss. You have to call in a sick day too.
Yeah, love that. That's so true.
Okay, so I'm pulling up the PDF. All right, perfect. Okay, so I think I can share that on my screen. Okay, so we will jump in. I'm going to share the slides along the way. If anybody wants to put questions in the chat box, we can, scroll through them at the end or in the replay and make sure we answer all those questions.
Yes.
Do you hear the background? Is that on your end, Amanda? Oh no, it's Elise is driving somehow. Here, let's mute her. Sorry, you were on the phone. I think it muted everybody online. Okay, now we sound clear. So I'm going to share screen and we're going to get this party started. Thank you everybody for being here. Okay, so.
Hey, Rena from Austin, a handmade business. What do you sell? What handmade stuff do you sell? I'm interested. All right. You want to take the show, Julia?
Yeah. Welcome everybody to your Instagram photo plan. We are, I'm Julia, and I've got Amanda. How do you say your last name, Amanda? Nizal? She's the photo branding expert.
Nizal, perfect. Most people don't get her.
People butcher my name too. All right, so we're here to help you because our Instagram goes to work even when we do not. Oops. I'm gonna lose my slides here. Okay, so first of all, I want to thank everybody for being here. I know that your time is precious and you're short on two things, time and money, and I cannot help you make more time, but hopefully after this lesson, I will help you make more money in your business. So thank you for investing this time in here. We are just gonna deliver you all fluff because that's how we roll. So let's go over what we're going to cover today. Okay, so we're going to teach you how to build a solid visual brand foundation so you can create long-term visual marketing success, right? Because a photo really speaks 1,000 words, and that is your first impression that your clients are going to get. Why you don't need 100,000 followers to gain traction and dedication on your Instagram feed. How to create a bio that gets clicked, how to decide if you're going to do it yourself, you're going to hire a photographer, you're going to buy stock photos, how to promote your offerings with your own amazing photos, how to define your own Instagram brand photo style, why gorgeous images alone won't make you money and what will, how to share consistently and save time, and then we're going to have Q&A at the end so we can answer your questions so you go away with everything that you need from this class. Sound good? Everybody ready?
Yeah.
All right. So before we jump into the training, I want you to tell me and Amanda in the chat box, type a 1 if you have already a branded Instagram page. Type a 2 if you're here because you want to brand your Instagram page. And type a 3 if you're like, what the heck is all this Instagram branding? I'm clueless. Like, put a 3.
2, we have a 1, we have a 2, 2, 2, 1. So it sounds like a pretty even balance between the two.
Good. So nobody here is like Instagram illiterate. So
no.
Awesome.
Good news.
Okay, so Amanda, do you want to talk about do it yourself versus stock?
Yes, ma'am. All right. So deciding whether you're going to DIY and or choose some stock images. So first and foremost, I will preface this by saying I teach photography, so I'm obviously a little bit biased. And I think that the DIY approach has more long-term sustainability for your overall brand vision. But that's just my little bit. I want to give you guys some options for if you want to DIY or if you want stock and the pros and cons of each. So some of the pros of DIYing it or learning how to take your own photos is, first of all, you won't break the bank. Oftentimes stock photos can end up very pricey. You can end up clicking on Creative Market, purchasing, and then you look at your invoices at the end of the month and you're like, oh my God, I spent $1,000 on stock photos. It can get a little pricey. The other next very important part is that you can tell stories immediately to create a bond. So say you're on vacation and somehow you can relate that to your business, to your overall brand, then you can share it whenever it's happening. And that's something that I notice people on Instagram do a lot. People follow others on Instagram, especially because we want that kind of personal connection. Photos don't have to be perfect. Yes, there are people out there who have super curated feeds and it's very specific and et cetera, but it doesn't have to be that to gain traction. The next point is that you can grow your list more quickly. The more often you share photos and the more often you get yourself out there and you get visible, you're going to gain more traction and get more people. That's just how it goes. You show up even when you don't want to, and you're going to continue with that growth. And then the next really cool point about learning how to DIY is you can immediately sell a product or service. So say, for example, you have a physical-based business where you make something handmade. I know someone in here said that they do. And you can take a photo of it immediately. You make it, you take a photo, you share it, you sell it. It can be a much quicker process than if you have to go out and hire a photographer and have them do it for you. And then after you schedule the photo shoot with the photographer, you're waiting for them to get your photos back to you. And that can take anywhere from a few days, a few hours if they're like really on it, they want to get it to you, or it can take up to a few months, which can be a really long period of time. So the cons of the DIY approach, and I'm going to be totally honest with you, is that it can have a steeper learning curve. So it's just like anything creative that you're learning, it's going to take a little bit of time and energy in the beginning to learn how to do it. But once you know how to do it, then you can do it better and better, constantly keep improving. So the next point is that you need proper photo technique and an approach in order to actually save time. So I teach all about this. I teach a lot of prepping for photo shoots and really getting clear on your lists and creating brand boards and really getting clear on your vision before you even go out there and start taking photos specifically for your brand, because then you can end up saving a lot of time and energy, and it'll be more curated that way too. And then the next con is with the DIY approach is it won't always be as high of quality, but this is just in the beginning. So when you're first starting out, it can be challenging. There's a famous photographer from the 1950s. I think I'm forgetting his name right now off the top of my head, but he said your first 10,000 photographs are your worst. Like, that's just the nature of the game. 10,000, that means, but the good part of that is the more you take and the quicker you take them, the better you're going to get in the long run. It doesn't have to be as extreme as 10,000 if you actually have someone teaching you along the way. I think in the 1950s, he probably didn't have someone, I don't even know if there were photography teachers back in the day. So, it's a learning curve, but if you have someone holding your hand there to do it, then it can be much quicker in the process.
Next.
So let's go over to the next slide. So buying stock photos, pros and cons. So pros are, let's go back one.
Oh,
I think we skipped ahead a little bit. It's all good.
Is that it?
There we go. Okay, so yeah, that's it. So the pros of buying stock photos. So you can get immediate access to images. So if there's something you wanna share, like maybe you want to create a text graphic, or you wanna just share immediately in terms of social media, then you can do it. You can go on there, find a stock photo right now and slap it up. That comes into the next point, is that you can share content quickly. and they tend to be high quality images. So whenever you go on these stock photography sites, whether it be Creative Market or Shutterstock or something of the like, they always sell really high quality stuff, which means it's crisp, it's clear, it's high resolution, and it's not really blurry unless you're really specifically looking for photos that are blurry, which is really stylized, kind of vintage, whatever the effect is you're going for. But generally speaking, it's going to be really high quality images. The next pro of stock is that you can edit or repurpose images more quickly. So the thing that's cool is if you buy a stock photo is you can actually crop it in a variety of different ways. So you can actually repurpose that one image multiple times. So say you want to use it as a header for your website, and then you want to take that same photo, you can crop it into a square, you can put some text on it, you can use it on Instagram, and then you can turn it sideways, crop it vertical for Pinterest, and then hey, here you have one image that you can use multiple times. I will also say that you can do that with your own photos too, but it's something that you can do quickly with stock. And then another pro is that there's so many to choose from. Like I said, I mean, there's so many different styles, there's so many different sites, there's just a lot of options. The cons of buying stock photos are there's a really big varying price point. So it can go anywhere from $5 a photo per photo, if that's one image. Excuse me. Let me take a little sip of my water here. All the way up to $200, maybe even $500. It really depends on who you purchase it from and the site you purchase it from. The next con is that those images are not necessarily going to be brand specific. I found it really hard for me to find images that felt authentic to who I am, to what I'm doing, to what I'm sharing in stock sites. So you may not necessarily be able to get all of your brand colors together or some of the elements. So say, for example, you saw a stock image that was like light pink, like we'll use Julia's brand, for example. So say she found a stock photo that had a really light pink floral kind of decor. And then it had some more like feminine elements, but it didn't have some of those edgier elements that she uses. So those slight differentiations in intention and in visual branding create kind of a bigger disconnect in the long run. And it's very subtle. It can be very subtle. But in the whole grand scheme of your brand, it can be something that kind of creates a disconnect. The next point is that it's not exclusive. So there can be a million other lady entrepreneurs who are using the same stock photos as you, which is a really, really big con, I think, personally. And I'd say it's the biggest con because if you have the same branding as somebody else, then how are they going to learn how to differentiate what makes you different? Because if you're saying you're different, but you're using stuff that everybody else is using, I don't know. Once again, there's a disconnect there. Another problem is that there can be a lot of license restrictions. So some of these photos you can't use on Instagram. You can't use them on your website, or you have to buy a different license in order to be able to use them on specific different platforms. And unless you read the fine print of everything you buy, which I know I'm guilty of not doing that, I probably should read more of it, but I don't always read the fine print, and you can get in a lot of trouble that way. And what is that website? I know there's one site that's really notorious for suing people. I was having this conversation with someone a couple of weeks ago. I'll have to find it out. But Getty Images. Apparently they are very sue happy, and because they have a ton of money, so they don't have any problem. Yeah, yikes! They don't have any problem doing that with people. And lastly, the biggest, or one of the bigger cons too with buying stock photos, is it might hinder your overall design or aesthetic, because unless you continually go back to the same photographer who's taking the same stock images, then there can be slight disconnects between the style of each photographer. So maybe you're continuing all the same colors, but maybe they edit them slightly differently. Or maybe they just don't really completely connect, like I said. So maybe some of them are like light pink and super feminine, and some of them are more edgy. You know, it just, there can be disconnects unless you get it from the same photographer. And even then, unless it's from the same set of images, it can be challenging to make it work. All right. So how do you define your Instagram photo style? How does this all work? Let's go to the next one. You have to have a solid brand foundation. So what does that even mean? Where do you start with a brand foundation? I know people talk about this a lot of the time, and that starts with, next slide, please. Knowing your brand concept. So we're okay here, but knowing your brand concept. So your concept is what you do and who you do it for. So mine is as simple as what we talked about in the very beginning. I said, my name is Amanda. I teach photo and visual marketing skills to online entrepreneurs. So, and I try and make it as synopsized and clear as humanly possible, because the clearer I am on my overall brand concept, the easier it is to kind of start creating themes off of this concept. So Julia, what would you say your concept is?
Well, I guess I would, if I would look at my bio here, it would, it would tell me. So what do I say? Well, you know, my brand is really taking people out of overwhelm and into action.
Yeah, that's a perfect description. So you know what overall concept you're going with. So let's go ahead and talk about theme then. So you have this general concept. Hopefully you're able to do that. And then we move on to creating a theme. So choosing a theme, step 2. Okay, you have your concept, step 1. Step 2, we're going to start choosing themes. So a theme does everything to support the concept visually. And so an example of this, you can go on to the next slide real quick. There we go. So my example theme, sorry, I'm trying to navigate and Julia's holding the slides. So we're going back and forth a little bit here. Apologies for that. But so an example theme, my theme for my brand, it's California Love. And I chose that after going through a variety of different iterations. And I ended up with that because it felt like the most kind of organic to me. I live in Southern California. I was born and bred here. I lived in Northern California, just outside of San Francisco, in kind of a beachy town. And I'm just kind of, it just felt like the most authentic approach for me. Let's go to the next slide. We'll talk a little bit more about that. So you're probably thinking, okay, that's nice, Amanda, but how do you actually come up with a theme? Let's move to the next slide.
Is there like a blue arrow through it now?
So you brainstorm. You write out keywords. Yeah, there is. I see that. It happens. So how do you come up with a theme is, like I said, you brainstorm. So you can write out keywords and adjectives that are related to your brand message and how you want your audience to feel. So these are things that you really want to sit down and write out. If you don't already have them, so just sit down with a pen and a piece of paper and just write out, how do you want them to feel? And then you start thinking about different ideas for how you can convey that visually. So let's move on to the next slide. So the way you start to convey that visually is by creating a mood board. So step 3 is to create a mood board. And I suggest going over to Pinterest. If you don't have a Pinterest account, you can create one very easily. And you got to do this prep work. So you're going to create multiple Pinterest mood boards, unless you already have a very clear brand vision. I know some of you said you already have branded Instagram, so in which case this doesn't necessarily apply to you. But you can refine it if you'd like by going and creating one. So you want to utilize those keywords that you wrote down. So keep your brand colors in mind and keep those keywords in mind. So say, for example, whenever I was creating my mood board for California Love, I wrote down in the search bar, California palm trees, or all these different random little elements that would kind of relate to my brand concept, or not concept, to my theme. And then I would scroll through the feed and then eventually come across images that I liked and pin them to a board titled California Love. And then when you're done with that, you can go over, look at the board, and see what's working and what's not. You can go ahead and delete images that are not working and add or refine as you go along. And another part of the process that I find really important with these mood boards is to kind of check in with somebody else. So check in with a branding bestie, business bestie, someone else that you can kind of talk to about it and ask, hey, does this work? Does this make sense? Because oftentimes, especially when we're doing creative work, it can get really, what's the word I'm looking for? Frustrating. You know, sometimes I remember whenever I was coming up with the California Love board, I think, like I said, I went through like 10 different theme ideas before I finally settled on that one. And the way that I got to that was by talking to other people, by saying, hey, does this work? Does this make sense? And sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't, because I know oftentimes we can think, oh, this works, you know, totally, but it doesn't always work. So check in with somebody else who is on your team. And then we'll go to the next slide.
Okay, what's going on? Okay.
Gotta like slow in here.
Can you see it?
Are we going? So let's look at, yeah, I can see it. So we're gonna go ahead now and then take a look at our brands as an example. So next slide. And I believe the first one is mine. Mm-hmm. Yes, so theme, California love. Okay, so I went ahead and I wrote out those brand adjectives. So my brand adjectives were playful, colorful, sassy, funky. And then when you get a little bit more into that, like, okay, what goes with theme of California or love? So, and in the context of my greater concept, which is photography and visual marketing for online entrepreneurs. So my brand elements, I would say, are there's a design focus, there's a photography focus, very obviously. Then there's this focus on palm trees and bright and my branded colors. So we have my pink and my yellow, and I have this kind of seafoamy color happening a lot in my brand, and just bright, bold colors. So I try and integrate that into the actual images without necessarily having everything be a graphic that's that color. And then the last bit of this is the types of photo content. So what are the actual images of that I'm sharing? Something that I share that I actually just recently started kind of sharing a little bit more is selfies, which I know can be really annoying. And people don't like the title selfie. You can call it a self-portrait. You can call it whatever you want. But it's actually really powerful when it comes to selling stuff online, especially if you are a coach or someone who does kind of one-on-one work or personal work, because people really want to get to know you. Or even if you're selling courses, people still want to have that kind of know, like, and trust factor. And if all they're seeing is just graphics all the time and they're not actually seeing any pictures of you, then they're going to think, huh, is this a robot or is there a person actually behind this account? So it's something to kind of take into consideration. Another thing that I use a lot of are flat lay photos that are related to photography or design. So flat lays are the images, which I'm sure most of you know of already, but flat lays are like this image on the right where I have a little palm tree frond and I have all the cameras. So it's like view looking down. So if you had your camera, it would be like standing up and looking down at whatever objects you have on a piece of paper, board, color, whatever. And then I also use some color swatches, and I try and share some behind the scenes content too. So it's not in this particular part of my feed, but images of me actually taking photos, images of me working with clients, images of me doing things that relate to the actions that I'm taking in my business on a daily basis. And those are all really important things to think about integrating into your Instagram feed. Like I said, especially if you're a coach, but especially, you know, also too, if you're a maker or a blogger, like people really want to have that, like I said before, that know, like, and trust factor. And the only way that they're going to get that is if you show them and you share it with them. And not everything has to be perfect. Not everything has to be the perfect light and the perfect this and the perfect that. It's just about showing up consistently and just show up consistently and let people know who you really are. Let's move to the next slide. I'm going to pop into the chat box. Tania said those colors are fabulous. Thank you. Cindy Ball, you got to run. Aw, see you soon. Thank you so much for being here. I will send out the webinar replay later. And Julia responded to that. Cool. Okay, perfect. So this one is an example of Julia's concept or theme or combination rather. So hers is pink and playful. It can be something as simple as that. So mine was very specific, like California love, but hers is just simple and to the point, which is pink and playful. So she did this earlier. So she wrote out her brand adjectives, which are playful, pink, sparkles, high energy, which I'm sure you get from Julia. Her hat, even as she's wearing this right now, is an integration of her brand, which is wearing that awesome pink hat, has the sparkles, has high energy written all over it. And then when we get into the elements of the brands, we look at things like gold, glitter, pink, hearts, black, and stripes. So she has these consistent colors and little visual elements that create this overall theme of what we see when we see her website, when we see her Instagram, etc. And then what types of photo content is she sharing? So she has selfies. She has these actual portraits. So we have both of them here as you look at her feed. We have behind the scenes content. So we see her at this different conference that she's at. We have graphics with inspirational quotes and calls to action. So all of these different quotes she have relate back to something that she's doing or something that she's selling or something that she's offering. And it's always really important to do that because it's one thing to have a personal Instagram account if you don't care. You don't need to sell. You don't need to do anything. But at the end of the day, we're all in business because we sell things and we have to make money. And I know that can seem a little icky to some people, but it's just the truth of the matter. And everything that you do in social media and online in some way, shape, or form should relate back to what you're offering. I heard someone say the other day, and I really liked this rule of thumb, that you should have 3 different calls to action, at least 3, on social media every day. So that can be your, this is a little bit veering off topic slightly, but this can be Facebook, it can be on your website, it can be on Pinterest, it can be Twitter, it can be wherever, but at least 3 times a day. And this was actually coming from a person who said that she did 15 times a day, which I think is maybe a little much for me personally, but for her it really worked. And this was coming from someone who was making millions of dollars. So obviously she knows what she's talking about. And the thing that's interesting about that too is I think that it can seem really uncomfortable, especially for women, to just ask, to say, hey, I'm doing this thing, come show up, like this webinar. Hey, we're doing this webinar, come show up. Or, hey, we have this super cool class we're offering, like, come see it. You know what I mean? I think that it can feel very, we're taught, like, as women to kind of be a little more subdued. And I say, you know, excuse my French, but fuck that, you know? For real, you know what I mean? Like, we can do whatever we want, and we have to just have the balls, or not the balls, the boobs, whatever weird, you know, phrase you want to say, to go out and get it. And going out and getting it means showing up and doing the work when you don't always want to do it. So I know that was a little, a little digression on the side, but hopefully that related a little bit there.
Of course, of
You agree, Julia?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Yeah, let's just do it. Show up and get it. Yes. Okay, so I want you to tell us in the chat box, what are your brand adjectives? And what are your brand design elements? And what types of photographic content do you currently share? So let's just take a couple of minutes right here to think about that. And you don't necessarily have to do all of them. Maybe you can choose one of them and share with us. Because I realized for myself that the more clear I got on that, and the more easy it was for me to describe it at something like this, when someone asks you, like, hey, what are those things? That the easier it is to continually create those things on a more of a subconscious level. You know what I mean? So it's like, you don't always have to be thinking so hard about it when you really kind of know it, you know? So we have Tania said, fun, high energy, passionate, orange, spots, polka dots, love it. Alana said, inspirational, sassy, clever, magical, motivational, gorgeous. Love it. Very cool. And then, excuse me, I'd love to know, what types of photographic content do you currently share? So do you guys share behind the scenes stuff? Do you share selfies? And let me know what those are feeling like for you. I know that for me, I had a gal the other day say to me, I shared about self-portraits, and I shared about selfies in particular. And she said, like, what do you do to get comfortable in front of the camera? Like, how do you deal with that, you know? Because it can be really weird taking self-portraits, you know, like we're doing this and we feel like Kim Kardashian and we feel like it's over the top. And you just have to do it a lot in order to get comfortable with it. And embrace the fact that it's not necessarily vain to share a self-portrait, especially when we're in business, you know? So just getting over all the blocks related to it and just doing it anyway. Julia said, we are our brand. Exactly. Yes. So Tiffany said, pink, purple, blue, and teal, motivation, helpful, success, teaching, high energy. Yes. Okay, cool. So it sounds like you guys are all getting this, and it sounds like you all really actually have a grip on what you're doing, what you're creating, which is really cool and exciting. So with that said, let's move on to the next step. So step 4 is to get your photos in order. Okay. So how do you get your photos in order? What does that even mean? So does that mean I'm going to be, the first step in that is to decide whether or not you're going to start doing it yourself, or hire a photographer if you really want to do that, or purchase stock photos. Or you could do a combination of all of the above. But keep in mind, like I said, that one of the biggest cons of that is going to be a kind of overall inconsistency. So get your photos in order. And let's move on to the next slide. How do you get your photos in order, right? How do you share consistently and save time? That's a huge piece of it. So I realized for me that whenever I started kind of curating my images a little bit more, that I actually ended up saving more time in the long run, because I could kind of sit down and batch create, or batch curate rather, kind of a artsy or photography term, curate like our feed, that I was saving a lot of time in the long run. So let's move to the next slide.
So I love putting these slides in my training. So when we talk about saving time, really, why do we need to save time? Because you need time to nourish yourself with a quiet cup of coffee before the kids wake up and not rush to your computer and start working. You need time and money because you want to be sitting on the beach and drinking fruity drinks while your business is working and you're recharging your soul. Or you actually want to read that stack of books sitting on your nightstand. Or you want time to take your kids to the pool without your face buried in the phone. Or you want time to smooch and love on your baby without feeling guilty for time off of work. These are why you need to have an Instagram plan.
Yes, ma'am. So how do you have an Instagram plan? You need to schedule your posts ahead of time. And woo, what a revelation, right? This is something that I only wrapped my mind around this past this past quarter of content. So keep in mind, I am a photographer and I've been a professional photographer for 6+ years, but I just started understanding the power of automation. Oh my goodness, it makes things so much easier. And so you're saying, well, how do you schedule ahead of time? I thought Instagram couldn't do that. And how you do that is, let's move to the next slide.
I'm like, because I don't schedule.
That's okay. We're trying to make it work.
It should be there.
Is you find scheduling software. And the cool thing is there's a ton of different scheduling software options. So my personal fave is Later. And if I were you, I would take a pen and paper out right now and write some of these down if you don't already have it. Or like Tania, take a picture of the screen. What a great idea. Love it. And find one that works for you. I've actually been through a handful of these. I went through Hootsuite. Hootsuite works for more than just Instagram, by the way. You can actually schedule all kinds of stuff on there, which is cool. I went through Planoly, and there's different price points and different plans, and there's all kinds of different stuff. And some people are going to prefer other ones to different ones. So Later is my personal fave. I just like the kind of control that it has. And the thing that's cool about these different apps is you can go on your computer. And so if you found stock photos, or if you have photos taken, or if you have anything, you can upload it to your computer and then create these different scheduling software. So you can actually tell it what time you want to put it at. You can you can prepare the text content that you want to write with it. And say, I found what works for me is like, I'll sit down on a Sunday and I will plan out my whole next week, or sometimes my whole next month coming up. Like if I have a launch, or I know what my month kind of looks like at a glance, then I can create for a month in advance, and you schedule it. And then all you do is, the one thing I will say about this that Instagram does do is you can't just schedule it and walk away. So all these different apps have it. So it will send up a little notification on your phone, and then you open the app and you say, yes, I want to do this. Yes, I want to do this. Yes, I want to do that. It opens it in Instagram, and you click it and you do it. So it's not completely automated, but it's like 99.8% automated. And it helps so much, because then you're not thinking, oh my gosh, I need to be posting something. I don't know what I'm going to post. Or you don't, like, say you are somewhere, like you're taking a little vacation that weekend and you didn't have anything that you felt was relevant. You can plan all that ahead of time and then put it on automation, baby, and then you don't have to think about it anymore. And I don't know, but if you're anything like me, that is such a time saver and a life saver and an energy saver. You know, like Julia was saying, like, I want to be in business because I have a lifestyle that I get to enjoy, not like so I'm just attached to my phone or my computer 24/7. I mean, it's great because it's how we get our businesses out there, but not at the expense of our sanity. So yes, check these out. Find one that works. Like I said, Later is my personal fave. It's a good one to start with. Planoly, I think it's free at first, and it costs like $7 a month. There's different plans. And yeah, you just got to kind of play with it and find one that works for you. Like I said, I suggest Later. So yeah, hopefully that helps you guys. Mm-hmm.
Is this where I'm supposed to?
All right, so let's move on to the next slide. Yes.
All right, we are going to talk about why you don't need 100,000 50,000 followers. I'm sure you have envy when you click on other people's profiles and you're like, how do they got so many followers? Because it's not really about the quantity, it's about the quality. Because you know what, at the end of the day, how many people does it take to make a difference? It takes just one, and that one person is you, and you can start a ripple effect, all right? And it's not going to be your gorgeous images that make you money, but I'm going to tell you what will. Okay, and that is one word. When you are in an online business, guess what? You didn't know this, but you became a bus driver because you are driving that bus full of traffic to your website. That's what I tell my clients. Like, your bus driver, just come on, get on my bus. I'm going to take you over to my website. You're going to check it out, right? So this is to build traffic. It's not about building followers. It's about getting those people from Instagram over to your website. All right. So great. How do I get people to my website? Well, you need a CTA. And if you don't know what that is, it's a call to action. So you need to light that fire under your fan's butt, under your Instagram viewer's butt. Okay. And so really, what is a call to action? I like to think of it as the little black dress for your business, right? You put it on, it looks good, you're ready to go out in the town. Like, you want your call to action to be something that you're proud of, to put out there, that you feel confident in, that people are like, oh, I need a black dress like that, right? Like, I need that offer that she has. And then it takes them over to your website, all right? So that's where your bio comes in. So how do we get a bio that gets clicked? And let me just tell you a little personal story here. I hired a so-called Instagram expert like 2 years ago when I was trying to get my Instagram game on, because I thought I didn't know how to make a bio. Like, I thought somebody else out there had answers that I didn't have. And so I had a conversation with her, and it was like $300, and on the phone call I could get it for only $100. But I had to decide right before I got off the phone call. And so I was like, okay. So she made my bio for me, but then she sent me all these worksheets with all these questions that I had to fill out. So I was writing my bio anyway. Guess what? Then I got spammed. Like, I got all these spammy internet marketing things. And I was like, oh my God, I just paid her $100 and now I'm getting spammed and have to rewrite my bio. It was awful. So the point of that story is, don't think that there's some bio secret out there that you don't have or that you're not capable of writing yourself, because you're a smart, savvy CEO, and that's why you're here. And I'm going to show you some examples to get your wheels turning so that you can just go in and make your own. And I change mine all the time, depending on what my call to action is. I'm always changing my bio. Yeah. So let me show you some here. All right, so here is my coaching one. I say mom, wife, CEO, marketing mentor. I just kind of sum up what I think I am and what I believe in, and then I have the little arrow to my lead magnet. My coach Elena, she is the Divine Self-Care Mentor, so she's got Priestess, Magic Maker, Intuitive Troublemaker. Ooh, it's like, ooh, right? And then she's leading you into information about her membership site. My other coach, Jenny, look at how we're all put these little stars in there. Spiritual business coach, host of Get Gutsy. That's her podcast. She's a yogi, a wife of Mama 3. So she's you're getting to know her as a person. And then boom, join our free awesome Facebook group for spiritual entrepreneurs. And then a link to which is actually a landing page. It doesn't go straight to the Facebook. It's a landing page, so she gets their email address, and then they get an invitation to the group page.
Which is really, I will make a point about that too. That's really smart. That way, when they go to the Facebook group, you get, like you said, you get their email as opposed to just sending them straight to the Facebook group and you don't get their email.
Yeah, and it's one extra step. I have it set up the same way, and I make your Facebook group its own little sales page. So it's when you join the group, you're going to get 1, 2, and 3. I don't ask for their name. They just put their email in, and then boom, they're in the group. So, and then it's a formal invitation. So here's just some other bios that I thought, were interesting. This one I love, this Latina in Dubai. So when you read it, it says, I help women seek your sexy Mexican. So you might want to also like how your words flow together, right? Because she's saying she's Mexican, but it looks like she's helping you seek sexy Mexicans. And then she's got arrows down to her. And then Paper Panda, so she introduces herself and she has a little hashtag there and her location. I know a lot of people do put location in their bio, and I think you do too, Amanda, with your California dreaming, but I'm in boring PA. I don't have that on there. And then she has her link there. And let's see. My girl, Holly G. So she has little like icons, boom, 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 go-to video gal, be the star of your business, break through your blocks. Like, so these are all just, if you like look at these or look at the feeds of the followers that you follow and just find what strikes a chord with you, because what resonates with you is going to resonate with your audience. So, I always design things basically for myself. So I'm not thinking like, what's my ideal client going to want to see in my bio? I want to put that I'm the go-to gal. I'm going to be the star of your biz. And so I just put what I want because I know that that'll attract my people. Kelsey does the same thing. And then she has her like a little heart envelope with her email address. So then people can contact her. And then Nicole just has a really brief personal mission statement, helping female entrepreneurs find work-life balance that creates more time to focus on the things that truly matter. And then that goes to her website. Now, see, I would have that go to a landing page. I don't advise sending people straight to your website because then they get there and they're like, oh, where do I go now? And then you don't have their email address and then they get a phone call and they go off your website. So make sure that link in your bio goes to a lead magnet, a landing page. And if you have questions about that, we can talk about that in the Q&A. And I love curating samples here. That's why I'm showing you. I think I've got a couple more pages. Okay, so this is my friend Crystal, Make Me Married.
And it's good to see so many different samples.
Of different, it's all different industries. So she's a blogger, a lovely DIY wedding blog, curated fabulous DIY tutorials, superb planning tips, and gorgeous real DIY wedding features. Okay, so if I'm a DIY bride, I'm going to be like, ooh, I want to follow this girl. Jen is with Keep Collective. So she just has wifey, mama, fashionista, inspiring women to be happy. And it takes you to her blog, short and sweet. This is my bag lady profile. So I have my URL to my coaching business in there, and then I've got my shopping link to my bag business there. This is my partner, Shannon. So she's a personal branding photographer, and she has like all the arrows. Get my planner here, right here, right here, right here. So you can't miss that. Michaela helped me design my website, and I don't know if I don't think she has her library, but she had a library. All the free content she put out there, she curated into a library. And so she was inviting you to sign up for her library and see the little arrow, like make it visual, like sign up, boom, with the arrow. This is these are all my dream team here. Shannon, Michaela, and Jocelyn. Jocelyn's my VA, and she says virtual assistant and business support for women entrepreneurs, making outsourcing simple and easy. Schedule a free consultation. So I like that call to action. Schedule a free consultation. I think this is the last. No, we got this one more page.
And it's so important because if you didn't know.
Yeah. Happiness Planner. They obviously have a lot. They're a big brand. Embrace the power of positive thinking, mindfulness, gratitude, and self-development with our beautiful planners. And the little airplane ships worldwide from USA and UK, and that links to their website, which obviously you're going to go shopping when you go there. Oh, my gals, all up in your lady business. If you don't listen to this podcast, you totally need to write that down. They are awesome. Okay, motivation, inspirational knowledge bombs. They got their email, hello at all up in your lady business. grab your little cup of coffee icon, pour some little tea, and click here to start listening. And then that goes to their show. And this is going crazy when I move things. Okay, and then you got my girl, Shalene Johnson, who I love. She is like marketing genius. And so she has just like, I like do less, earn more. And then she has some kind of hangry chef guide, which I guess she's promoting. She has a couple of different bios. So she's a really interesting person to follow if you have multiple brands, to see how she does that. And then the last page I want to share is Becca over at Uncaged Life, helping, and she shortened that people, PPL, so you only have a certain amount of characters, so you might have to get creative with your bio. Create businesses they can run from their laptop and with no pants on, right? So she's totally infusing her personality into that bio right there. I spend a lot of time on clips, and then she's got a link to her website, which she should have a link to her lead magnet. And an interesting note here, one of my students knows Rebecca. I was like, how do you know Rebecca? And she was like, oh, I met her like at the top of a volcano in like Brazil or something. And they were standing at the top of this volcano, and they were like, oh. And she's like, I'm a life coach. And she's like, what do you do? I'm like a business coach. And like, I mean, it's just crazy, right? Like that they met at the top of a volcano, and then they're in this online world together. So connections can be made on and offline. Then Susan Hyatt, she's actually the first person I learned about building a business online. And so she's got she loves Beyonce and yoga and 5 a.m. runs. That goes straight to her website. Again, she should have a call to action. But she's been in business for 10 years, and Facebook is her jam. So if you want to really see how someone utilizes Instagram and Facebook and social media, she's a great person to follow. And then Heather Crabtree, she starts off with her hashtag savvy business owner founder. And then she has her motto, her tagline, which is so catchy: create and grow a business with your smarts and your heart. Join my community of, and I know it's probably like 7,800 now, savvies. And then she has her URL +/join. So you know it's going to her landing page there. Mm-hmm. So that is like some samples that I curated. I could like curate samples all day long because I just totally love branding and marketing and eating all this stuff up and curating it to like share it with you. Like, hey, these are people to like keep your eye on, because I've like kept my eye on a lot of people in the last 2.5 years.
Yes.
So I think that was it for the training. We're here at 3:52. So we're going to open it up for Q&A. If you've got any questions, speak now, forever hold your peace. You can unmute yourself and you can just pop in and start talking when we call on you, or you can type your question in the chat box. So if you unmute yourself, we'll know that you want to talk and we'll call your name. And if you want to put in the chat box your question, and we can answer it for you.
Yes. I love how it says, speak now or forever hold your peace.
Yeah, this is your chance. Like you're on the line here with 2 like amazing business branding brains. So like take advantage of it, right?
So Tania asked, do you think it's okay to group or batch posts to all social mediums, Instagram to Facebook and Twitter? Do you mean the same graphic? Yeah. Okay. I think it's okay as long as it's at the same time. Like if you were to schedule something to go out, make sure that it's not at the exact same time on all the same platforms, because it can look a little spammy. But if you were to share, you could use a different visual for the same thing on 3 different platforms. So say, for example, you had one on Instagram that was a photo, and then you shared a text quote related to whatever it is what you're offering on Facebook, and then you shared a written thing on Twitter. So it can all be about the same exact content, but try and make it a little bit visually different. Still on brand and still related to the same offering, but not necessarily all exactly the same. Oftentimes what I'll see is, like for example, on my Facebook groups on my phone, I will sometimes get notifications from specific people, and you'll see when they post the same thing to like 5 different groups, and it looks really spammy because I'm looking and I'm thinking like, wow, they're just posting this to all these groups at the exact same time, and it's the same exact post. And I'm like, otherwise this person's really cool. But that one thing, you know, like share something a little different, or change the timing up a little. Does that answer your question? Right on. So,
you know, before we forget, back in the beginning, I forget who it was. Somebody had asked about the mood boards, and so I figured we'd talk about that at the end. Oh, if we had samples of a mood board. That was you, Tania.
Okay. You can go on my Pinterest. You can go on my Pinterest account and check it out. Here, let me type it in here. It's pinterest.com/AJN Creative. And I have a handful of different mood boards on there as kind of examples. And it's, like I said, it's really as simple as kind of just going with the flow, and just going with the flow, typing in your brand adjectives, typing in those elements that are related to that one theme, and then posting them on there, and then just kind of going back and looking through it. And like I said, remember that you can delete images. So I've gone through things where I'm like, oh, that all looks great, but then there's this one image that's very off. And then that really helps when you go to curate your feed, because then you know, okay, here's the type of images that I'm looking for, and here's the type of things that I want to share or I want to start creating. My Instagram is Amanda Nazal. I think that's right. That should be right. And then it just makes it more time consuming and not automatic. Okay, hold on. When we post personal things, should it be branded? Do you mean post personal things on your business page, or you mean post personal things just personal? Here, hold on. We'll take a second and see what she says. Someone said, any other recommendations for creating DIY photos or graphics? So Paulina, I would definitely go to canva.com. Canva has a ton of awesome free templates that you can use. And then when it comes to DIYing your photos, like I said, it just kind of gets started. I have a class actually that's all about this, and it's about to launch at the end of the month. So I think you're already on my list because you're on this webinar, and I'll be sharing information about that in the coming weeks. But it's basically kind of prepping to do it. So we go through creating mood boards, and we create a curated vision of where we want to go. So it's not like we're just taking random photos, you know, like a regular intro to photo class would be. It's more intentional. And then, like I said, when it comes to the graphics, I definitely would go on Canva. And the thing that I would recommend with Canva would be to maybe choose one template, and then you can click on this there's a little page button on each template where you can click multiple pages, and then use the same graphic and then change your colors up. So maybe if, like, for example, it's like a block quote with like a circle in the middle. So for example, if we did Julia's brand as an example, then we could have one that was like a hot pink background with a white circle in the middle. And then the next one, we would do a black and white striped background with like a pink circle in the middle. And then we would do a gold background with a white circle in the middle. So it's like we're still creating the same kind of overall brand vision, and we're using a similar template. So we're creating consistency in all those things, but they still have a little bit of variety. Does that make sense? Or hopefully that helps. So Tania said, not on business page on Instagram or personal Facebook page. Should it still mimic our brand? Not necessarily. I mean, I share stuff on Facebook on my personal page. Like, I just don't care. Some people are a lot more rigid about it, but I feel like my brand's very transparent. Like, I'm like, kind of what you see is what you get, you know, either way. So I'm not too worried about that. And I share stuff that's generally pretty related to my brand anyway. You know, I share a lot of things from photo shoots, but then I also share like cute cat videos and things like that too. And I think that, you know, if you're friends with someone who's on your personal Facebook page who's also in your business, then, you know, maybe they're getting a little bit more know, like, and trust because they're getting to know you on even more of a personal level. And my philosophy is always like, you know, if people don't like me, then that's okay. There's plenty of people out there in the world, and if they don't like me, then whatever, you know, like it's not, you can't take everything personally, you know? So do we need a separate biz and personal Instagram account? I would say yes. It depends on, like I said, I think it depends on the context of your business, but like, I don't, like on my personal account, I share stuff that's always, or not personal, my business account, like I share everything that's relevant to my business or my brand. I share everything that's calls to action, and I don't have a personal account because it felt like too much effort to do both at the same time.
Right.
So I share more of the personal stuff on Facebook on my personal account, and if I really need to share a photo with somebody that's personal, then I figure, here's my logic, is that anybody who I really would want to share those photos with anyway, like I have their numbers in my phone. Like I can send them a text message, that says, hey, here's my picture for blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? So it's like, you don't have to be so concerned later. Yes. Right, Julia? Zoom works like that, right?
Yeah, something just froze, so I didn't hear. What was the question?
Oh, will this be recorded?
Yes,
it does work on Zoom.
Yeah, it's absolutely recorded, and I'm saving the chat roll too. So if you want to put like your Instagram handles or whatever in there, we can look each other up, and I'll make sure that Amanda gets that when she sends it out.
Yeah. So Alana said, what are some examples of 3 calls to action that I can use daily? So I think that that's very specific or personal to each business. So for example, I will mention something about my Rock Your Photos class, but I'll tell a story first and then kind of hit some points about why someone will want to take it, or maybe what some of their struggles were. And then at the end, I'll say, by the way, here's a free workshop if you want to kind of get help with that. Or another call to action might be something like, come join our free Facebook group. You know what I mean? Like your post could be something about community, and then you say, hey, come join our free Facebook group. So it really depends on the overall context of what you do have as offerings, and then you kind of relate your calls to action around that.
Yeah, and I want to add too that, I just wrapped up a 29-day training I did. I did one tip every day for 29 days. Well, I didn't do them in a row, but then I always had a call to action. It was like, hey, go get my tips here. Oh, you missed the tips. Go here. Oh, tomorrow I'm doing this tip. So if you're always in motion and providing free value like this webinar, like we're not here to sell you anything. Like we're here to sell value, to build our brands, to get to know you, for you to get to know us. And so when you're doing that, it's just natural to just be like, hey, it's like if your friends, know you love like Nike Shocks and there's like a huge sale at the mall, which Nike's never on sale, but just saying and she goes and she gets her shoes like half off, and then she doesn't tell you. You're like, what? Why didn't you tell me I wanted those shoes? So you're just sharing information that people want. And if they don't, it just goes over the head. They don't have to look at it. They can unfollow you. They can unsubscribe you. They can block you, whatever.
Yeah. And, I'm actually going to be I'm doing my Rock Your Photos class. And then the next class I'm teaching is all about batch creating graphics, because it's kind of what everybody wants. I pulled my audience. So I simply said, hey guys, what do you guys want to learn about? Graphics or flat lay photography or intro to photography. And most people wanted kind of this batch creating. So creating like large amounts of content in like a weekend. And once again, like it's super cool because you can automate it. So you create all this content for maybe like a month's worth of content. Like you have all these blog posts are coming out, you have this launch that's happening. And so it gives you kind of a way to contextualize it on like a little bit of a larger level. And I find that creates for me a lot less stress. I used to kind of be like, oh, well, I'm going to write this blog post today. And then I have to create the graphic for the blog post, and then I have to share it on social media. So it's like a whole day's worth of energy wasted on one task. So when it comes to creating your photos or your graphics or kind of creating content in general for your business, so you're talking about calls to action, you could do it all at the same time. And it flows so much more when you do it all at the same time too. So say, for example, I batch created all these graphics using Canva. And then I'm like, okay, well, now I can pop it into later, so I can type in the text that I'm going to be sharing in Instagram for the week or the month. And it's awesome. And like I said, I found this just like not too long ago, probably in the last year, as being like a hugely vital piece of my business. So someone asked, Tania asked, do we need a Facebook group in addition to our business page? I think that's, maybe Julia, you can answer that question.
Yeah, you know what? Well, in some of the examples, the bios did go to a Facebook group, so that's a good call to action. If you do have a Facebook group, that's like a personal preference for how much time and energy you have to invest. But I run my business with a free Facebook group. It's a great place to build relationships and connect people that that like my vibe and want to be in my tribe. So I believe in creating a whole marketing plan, and Instagram is like one little piece of it. And so is a Facebook group, and everything kind of works together to get you to your eventual paid offer at
Yeah. And, you don't have to use everything. I think that that's something I struggled with at first. I was like, oh my gosh, I need to be on Twitter. I need to be on Snapchat. I need to be on XYZ. I need to do all these things. And I realized, okay, I am more visual. So let's ditch Twitter and let's ditch Snapchat because I just don't care. And so I focus on, personally, I focus on Instagram and Facebook groups, because the thing that's cool about Instagram and Facebook groups is they're free. So it's not like you're having to pay. I mean, you could definitely do ads and stuff for it, but the nature of it is that it's free and that you're going to be offering free value in there. And just like Julia said too, the thing that's cool about Facebook groups is you can do these live streams. So where you're just sharing your face like this, but it's in a group setting. So it makes it a lot more, it feels very personal. And like you can type in the feed just like this. So you would say, hey, you just ask questions and do things like that. And I find that to be a really valuable way to connect without it being like you have to sign up for this webinar, like you just say, hey, it's happening at this time, come join it. It's a little less formal, I'd say. Do we have any more questions before we close today?
Yeah, any Instagram bio or curated feed or branding questions that we didn't answer for you?
So speak now or forever hold your peace. Or just kidding, don't forever hold your peace. You could definitely reach out to me or Julia, and we'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
And speaking of Facebook groups, do you have a free Facebook group, Amanda?
I do. It's called the Blog and Biz Photo Babes. Now let me type it in here, /blog and biz photo babes. There we go. Yeah, so if you guys want to get in there, then definitely hop in. That's a good place to come and get any of your photo or visual marketing questions answered.
Yes. I'll put mine in too. I have the Solopreneur Society. And so that's all things branding and marketing and working with less hustle and more heart. All right. Well,
yes. Gosh, I love that. And I think we're good.
Thank you for teaming up with
Does anybody else have any more questions?
I think we answered them all.
Yeah.
That was fun. Thanks for putting this together and teaming up with me, and
yeah, of course,
helping people. When is the next group? Oh, the next group for your Instagram thing?
You mean what do you mean, the next group?
I don't know.
Let's ask Elena, what do you mean the next group?
Oh, video training. What do you want to learn about?
Yeah, what do you want to learn about? Tell us. We want more. Yay! Maybe we'll have to team up on another training, Julia.
Yeah, actually, speaking of, I do have a training I'm going to be hosting next Wednesday. I'm going to be doing Webinar Wednesday, and it is going to be all about lead magnets and making your opt-in. So if you want to join me for that, I'm going to go step by step and give you examples, like everything you need to know about creating your lead magnet.
That's awesome. I know that that's something really great to hop onto as well, especially if you're just kind of starting out or understanding what a lead magnet is. I did not know for the longest time what a lead magnet was, and it's key. It's so key.
Yep. Jeff Walker says his book, The Product Launch Formula, something he tells a story about. He's standing in line at preschool pickup or something, and the mom's like, "Do you have retirement?" And he was like, "I don't have retirement. I got a list, So that's what it's about.
Yeah.
We don't have like 401s and
absolutely
pensions when we're CEOs. So our list and our community is our retirement. So Wanson says, thank you so much, guys. Loads to get started on. Absolutely, girl. You got your Biz Boss Babe Academy thing you're doing. Paulina says, what is it? What is what? Elena says, yes, how to. Robin says, you ladies are so cute and brilliant. Thank you.
Aw, thank you.
I know,
That's so
fun.
sweet.
Oh,
well, I will also say too,
go ahead.
if you guys have any questions, I'm going to type in my personal email down here. You can just send me a little email, say you were at the webinar, and just, shoot me some questions. Like if you think of anything after the webinar.
Yeah, I'll put mine in too. Juliet's.com. Helena says, brain hurts so much awesome info. You girls are amazeballs. And there is so much more where this came from. We're just a little bit further ahead of you guys. And, just keep moving along. Just keep, putting your heart and your soul in your business and get comfortable getting uncomfortable.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I can tell you, I came online like in the beginning of 2014 and it's like the end of 2016 and my business is just now getting profitable. So
yeah, same here. I started in, I think it was October of 2014. So, and also similarly, my business is just getting profitable as well. So it takes some time. It takes some time to kind of figure it all out.
Yeah. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for having that seed in your heart to want to give more to, all the women in the world. And we appreciate you. Thank you for being here.
Yay. Thank you. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
If I can find my buttons here. All right, recording stopped.